as Kinsman.
Sorry about that. It's the 6th of June. This is Rabbi Fabian substituting for Rabbi Levitt. Gemora.
Okay, sure. So we're on page 109A2, the left-hand side.
Thank you.
The top paragraph, and it's like the fifth it starts. Goalim is the first word on the eighth line. Now, is there any person among the Jews who has no kinsman? Surely any Jew born has some relative. Ela, Bejazel, Hager, Hakosh, Sov, that they bear. Perforce, the verse speaks about a case of robbery from a convert who can in fact die without heirs. The Brisa continues, Hooray, Gozel, Hager, Vanishba, Lo. Consider the case where one robbed a convert and swore falsely to him. Vishoma, Shemesh, Hager, and then heard that the convert had died, leading him to assume that he was required to make restitution to the Kohanim. Hoyoa Me'aleh Kasavo Shemo Sholim, while he was in the process of bringing up his money and his asham offering to Jerusalem. Forga so Hager. He met that convert who was actually alive. Avator Korpo or love law, and the convert converted the robbery debt to a loan upon the robbery. And then the convert died. The law is that the other one, i.e., the robber, acquires that which is possession. Devrei Rabbi Yosef HaGalili. These are the words of Rabbi Jose Galili. Rabbi Akiva Omer. Rabbi Akiva says, "Ein lo atak korna ad yotzi ze lo mi tachas yodo." He has no remedy until he removes his robbery from his possession. The Brise's case, since at the moment of the convert's death, the robber had possession of the money he owes the convert. He acquires the debt and in effect forgives it to himself. Rabbi Yossi Galili therefore considers him absolved, but Rabbi Akiva does not. Their dispute, however, is not limited to this case, but pertains to all cases. Rabbi Yosef HaGalili, according to Rabbi Yosef HaGalili, Lo Shana Lanaf She Lo Shana Harim Matsei Machil, whether one forgives the robbery debt for himself or for another, he is able to forgive it, and the robber is thereby absolved of all his obligations to return it. Rabbi Akiva, and according to Rabbi Akiva, Lo Shana Harim Lo Shana Nafashe Lo Matzor whether one forgives a robbery debt for another or for himself, he is not able to forgive it, and the robber remains obligated to remove the property from his possession. Thus, the first Mishnah, which teaches that when a robbery debt is forgiven, the robber is absolved, follows the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Galili. Our Mishnah, however, which teaches that even when the robber inherits the robbed property and in intent forgives himself, he remains obligated to remove it from his possession, and follows the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. That's the end of page 109A2.
Okay, Lou. Are you there, Lou?
I am here.
Yeah, maybe you want to continue in the Gemara, or you have any questions, or you want to. I'm not sure. I mean, he said it over like very well, exactly what was pretty much said here. So this brings out the difference between, what the opinion of the Mishnah is and Yosei Aglili, and what Rabbi Akiva's opinion is, that he wasn't, the Ganav had to return the money, physically take it out of possession, and the fact that he met the Ganav on the way, unless he had physically given him the money, that would have, not just making it into a loan, the only way that, according to Rabbi Akiva, he would have actually straightened out his situation is actually physically taking the money out of his possession. Okay, so then the Gemara can Mosif that Gemara. You want to continue with the Rabbi Yossi Haglili, Adin the Filulo. I guess that's where we're holding.
Okay, so we're on 9A3 now.
Right, that's correct.
Sorry, how do you convert the robbery debt to a loan upon the robber?
Okay, in other words, let's see here. Mash Mishahu Vizakfu Alav Hager B'Milva. Vizak Sha'amr Lo Sha'Gazela Tiya Etzlo B'Torah Salva. What the ger said to him, according to my payrush that I have here, was that it was simply a verbal. It was a verbal statement on the part of the ger. The ger said he didn't have to do any physical action. According to the way the Gemora that I'm looking at explains it, that all the ger did was he stated to him that he's now considering that the ger, the milva, what you had taken to me, what you had were bringing back, you had stole from me, and we're bringing to the Kohen because you thought I passed away. I'm now considering that alone. I'll consider it as a loan. So it was a verbal statement. That's the problem with Rabbi Akiva has, that what he actually should have done to be Yotzi Rabbi Akiva is he should have handed him the money and said, okay, well, I want to pay back the loan. If you want to give me another loan, you can hand it back to me. But he should have made a form of a kinyan of some sort and done some type of action. But the verbal action wasn't sufficient, according to Rabbi Akiva. With Rabbi Yossi Aglili held it was sufficient, that he verbally was able to turn it into he was able to, through his speech, able to turn it into a loan by simply stating to him that and he made conceptually he said, I'm telling you right now, with that money that you have of mine, that's now, consider that a loan. So that was sufficient. He didn't need to do an action, according to the way, at least I have it explained here in my Gemara.
There is actually a Rashi on this phrase, uzak fu alav.
Okay, let's see the Rashi.
He converted it. Usually we would read the Rashi at this point.
Right, let me see the Rashi 1 second. Zakfu alav, Rabbi Kiva shana, afilu lo zakfu. I hear Rabbi Kiva lo shna. Which is what's the Divrei Maskil? What is the title heading of the Rashi?
Uzakfu alav. It's just where the there's on the right hand column there's some marks that look kind of like swords. It's right across from the last
Oh, fine. Zakfu alav. I'll read the Rashi. Zakfu alav, ger v'milva, nafak le b'toras gzela, v'lochi maisi ger havile haya muksak v'zacha min hahefker. I mean, he doesn't really explain. I mean, what does he have? Probably the art scroll there says over the Rashi in the English. Ger Zakfu. How does he say it over there? Does he explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, he says that is when the robber offered to pay him, the convert said, "You may keep the money as a loan and pay me back at another time." The robber's debt to the convert is thereby transformed from a robbery obligation to a loan obligation, according to Rashi.
Right, but you listen to what the words you said were. He said to him, it was a verbal. There was no physical action done. There were no
Right.
kinyanim, no actions of acquisition, like, picking up the money, handing it over to him, any form, what we call, there's different forms of acquisitions. Okay, Yoris is
Right.
No witnesses, no star.
No, yeah, I mean, you don't need witnesses and shtar, not necessary in general. In other words, sometimes we will, in cases of business transaction, we will have a contract or we'll have witnesses, but there was really no need for. It's not necessary for the acquisition. In other words, an acquisition is done by, normally speaking, by you lift. There's a couple different ways you can do it, but one of the ways is lifting something up. When you lift something up, that's the form of a kinyan. There's different forms of acquisitions. One is by paying money. When a person wants to buy something, in other words, if a person would be in a store and with a child, for example, and the child is under bar mitzvah, or it's a young child under bar mitzvah age, and the child now is carrying a bottle of wine, a nice 250 shekel bottle of wine, carrying to the counter for his father, and the child makes a mistake and drops and breaks the bottle, right? So the question might come out now, who has to pay for the wine, right? Well, the child is the one who dropped it. Or if the child bumped into a bottle in the store, is the parent obligated to pay for it? Now, if obviously we understand, if at the counter, the bottle's put on the counter, I don't know, some strange case, if the bottle were put on the counter by the store and the wind blew and somehow hit something that knocked the bottle over and it broke, right? So the question is, whose bottle is it? Who's gonna take this loss, right? If the person had made a kinyan somehow, so then the person who owned the bottle, of course, it's his loss, it's his mazel. And if the store, though, on the other hand, if it was still in the store owner's possession, then it would be his, right? So in our particular case here, in the case of the in the case of the thief, he simply all he needed to do, what we're saying, according to Rabbi Yossi's opinion, that all he needed to do to give over the ownership, to give it, he said it verbally, it's a loan. He didn't make any form of acquisition that was sufficient. Rabbi Akiva held it wasn't sufficient to absolve him of the theft. He had to actually remove the money from his possession somehow. Had he removed the money from his possession, they could have. The way to have done that in a simple way would have, if he was holding on to the money, give it to the ger. The ger picks it up and says, "You know what? I understand you're really in a bad way. Here, I'll lend it to you," and he gives it back to him. Then he would have been Yotzi Rabbi Akiva's opinion with no problem.
Right.
Okay,
Thanks.
fine. Okay. Do you want to read? What's your name?
Roy.
Roy, I remember you, Roy. Now I just didn't recognize you at first. Roy, do you want to continue in the Gemara?
All right. Okay. Sorry I came late. I missed all the other shiurim, but I'm here now. So where do I read from?
109,
Okay.
83, left-hand
83.
column, top, very top.
Right. So Reb Yochanan continues, and he's clarifying the brisa that he cited. Ularevi Yosei, and according to Yosei Hagalil, who Dain Rafilu Lo Zikapo Bemilve. The law is actually the same, even in a case where the convert did not convert the robbery debt to a loan, but left it as a robbery debt.
Right. That's quite a big statement.
I don't quite follow that.
So Rashi's coming to explain it.
Mhm.
Rashi has your problem. So you're in good company. Let's see the Rashi. You want to read the Rashi in the English or the Hebrew, whatever. I don't know who can read Rashi here.
No, I'll leave it to Lou.
The,
Lou's our Rashi reader.
okay, Lou, read the Rashi.
Okay, which Rashi am I reading? Loshana?
Hayafilu lo zakfu. The Rashi after that, after the Rabbi Akiva Loshna. Afilu hayadin afilu lo zakfu. That's where that's the little piece of Gemara that we just read from Rabbi Yossi. Hu hadin afilu lo zakfu b'milva. The din would be the same. And Rashi's coming to explain this, or coming to help us. Rashi's dealing with the problem, maybe the problem that Roy has. Okay,
I don't see where it is.
It's right. It's opposite, almost the bottom of the Gemara page. A little bit, 4 lines. It's 4 lines up from the bottom of the Gemara. Starts the Rashi's title heading. Hayafilu lo zakfu.
Got it. Thank you. Hilchach, Yoresh, Es, Aviv, Nami, Afagav, Delo, Zakfu, Alav, Bimilva, Velo Yatsa, Masora,
Mitoras Gazela.
Mitoras Gazela, Chaye Aviv, Kevan de Mace Aviv, Venaflu Nichsim Lefanav, Mechayo Lenafshi Ulekaman Perush Olive Kuf Gazal Hager de Nafik Lekahanim Hecha misachach la. Okay, so therefore, the inheritors of the father also, even though that they're not, what is this, zakfu?
Zakfu means, I don't know, it's a hard word to translate. It essentially means how do they have a translation of the word zak with the whole explanation?
No, they don't
means,
translate the Rashis.
No, the word zakfu.
Hmm?
Zakfu essentially means,
The
you have some.
I don't know if law zachrub milve is the law is actually the same even.
No, okay, they're not
With-
translating the word zakfu. Zakfu, what it means is to establish it in the zokef is standing up. The root of the word of zakfu is to stand it up. So what we're doing is, if we didn't, even if he didn't establish it, if the ger didn't establish it in the possession, in other words, what he did was, what we said was, the ger, the thief met the ger on the way to Yerushalayim, and he was zakfu. He established that now it's no longer you're holding on to stolen money. What you're holding on to is a loan.
Right.
You say that again. You're no longer holding the money as a robbery, but as a loan.
Right. So that's what the zakfu is doing. What the
Applied by
zakfu, zake, it's okay. It's a bracha we say in the morning. Zokef kifufim. It's the same word, Moshe? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kef meaning straighten up the crooked. So kef is the lashon to straighten out. In other words, when we say in the brachas in the morning that you say zokef kifufim, straighten the bent.
Right.
Yeah.
And before was a bent.
In that list of brachas.
This is a good way.
Right. In other words, that my son adds here, my son's next to me over here. His name is Moshe. So he added a point to me that the word zokef, kifufim, zokef, the bracha is zokef kifufim. Kafuf is to be bent over. Zokef is to straighten out. So what happened is, this was a crooked situation. The guy had stolen money, right? And he's straightening it out by making it into a loan. Now no longer does he have, he's not holding on to crooked money anymore. He's holding on to straightened money, which is the kosher money, because it's a loan, according to this opinion.
Although
That's
actually, in this sentence, it's saying even though he did not establish it as a loan.
Right. So what we're trying to say here is, because what happened is that since it came to him, I think what we're talking about here is a situation where it's his father who passed away.
Right.
So he stole when he stole it, it was his father's money. Now it became his money. So he's not holding stolen money anymore. He's holding his own money. He's the inheritor of that very same money.
Right.
So that's the
Because
opinion
there's no other inheritors.
Right. So that would be this opinion. According to other opinions, that it's not sufficient, because since there's different opinions here. The opinion we're holding in here is that the fact that the father died, the money comes to him, it's no longer considered stolen money, it's just his money. But there are other opinions, as we saw earlier, that he had to either bring the money up to Yerushalayim and give it to a Kohen to fix his mistake, or according to Rabbi Akiva, I mean, well, we were going because then he found the person was alive. But in any case, in other words, there's opinions that hold that somehow to correct it, it's not sufficient, that he has to do something. So, but what we're holding in the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, who holds that even if he doesn't do anything, since it became his money, he's essentially returned the money, right?
Right.
There's no tshuva, no harata involved.
That's according to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi would hold that. I mean, we didn't see the Gemara clearly later. Let's see what it says here. V'hai d'katani zaktu alav v'milva l'idea koicha. I hear. The Gemara is going to explain in a minute. Why don't you? Let's see. Why don't you read a little bit further? We can get to a place here where there's a little bit more explanation. I have not too much time left.
Should I finish
Let's try to get a.
Or you want me
No,
to
let's go to the Gemara. There's a little bit, a few lines of Gemara, a line or two of Gemara that's kind of important to continue to get the idea clear before we run out of time.
Okay. Where did you leave off, Roy?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down from the top, and we're up to the hay the Kasani Batani. We've got a footnote 24.
Okay, 24. Let's see if I can find that. Okay. V'hai de katane
Yes.
the kafo alav the melva. And the reason that the Brisa states, and he converted the robbery debt to a loan upon the robber, lehodi'acha kocho de Rebbe Akiva, is to inform you of the strength of the opinion of Rebbe Akiva. Da'afilu zikafan alav b'milva, that even were the convert, even where the convert converted the robbery debt to a loan upon the robber before he died, ein lo tikana al ad sheyotzi gizela mitachas yado. Rabbi Akiva holds that the robber has no remedy until he removes the robbed property from his possession. So in other words, Rabbi Akiva, we want to see that Rabbi Akiva is a strong opinion, because even if he went to this extreme of doing this conversion to the debt, to the loan, still Rabbi Akiva would not allow it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right. So that's what the Gemara is trying to say. It's trying to show the extreme sides of the two opinions. On the Rabbi Akiva's side of the opinion, that even zakfu doesn't help, and meaning even to convert the theft into a loan, it's not going to help. He has to take the stolen money and from out of his hands. This is stolen money. Rabbi Akiva held he's got stolen money in his hands till he takes it and gets rid of it, either giving it to the Kohen, giving it to the one who he stole it from. He has no tshuva here. And according to the other opinion, it's coming from the extreme other side, that even zakfu isn't necessary, even making it into a loan isn't necessary, by virtue of the fact that it was his father's money and it became his money. He's already returned it, and nothing else is necessary. So they're two very great extremes we're going at here. I don't know whose opinion we hold by.
Right.
Interesting.
So one opinion is that you can there's no excuse, and another opinion is yes, you can get out of it.
Right. I mean, meaning that either way you can get out of it. Either way, there is a tshuva. There's tshuva. There's no everything you can do tshuva for. There's tshuva for. There's always tshuva, but the question is what you have to do the tshuva. According to Rabbi Akiva, he has to take the money and or whatever he stole, and he has to get it out of his hands. He can't hold on to something that he can't fix up the situation without literally doing an action of removing the stolen item from his possession. That would be Rabbi Akiva's opinion. According to the other opinion, that's not necessary, either through various different methods. The zakfu was a suggestion on the side, but it's not even necessary according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili's opinion. He doesn't even need to do zakfu. Doesn't need to take it. The bottom line is, doesn't need to take it out of his possession. That's the main point. You understand? Everybody understands? In other words, this is the extreme sides. I don't know. It's interesting. It would be interesting to know what would be the halacha in such a case, whether or not it would be what would be the scenario, if this scenario where a child would steal from the parent and then the parent would pass away and the child would inherit it, would be the inheritor, whether or not he would need to in fact get it out of his possession